Welcome from the Shinyu Matsuri Festival in Broome, Western Australia. I'm Alan Wilson, and this is my crowd density continuum. I know you all like looking at crowds. I do too. And we need to know the theory. Now, a lot of people look at Fruin, and this table does my head in. Space, in this case, square meters per person. It looks at people moving, people climbing, and people standing still. If we look at it all, the numbers are in ranges, and it does not make sense to me until we start to analyze it a bit deeper. And there is a pattern. If you want to see the pattern, have a look diagonally, and you will see that the numbers, to a certain degree, correlate. Now, if we switch it around into density, as in people per square meter, which is what we know, but not everybody can determine, when we go into the standing area, the queuing / crowds, then these numbers are the ones we need to look at. And it tops out at 5.26 people per square meter. That is a number that we all talk about. People's body shapes have been increasing over the years, so 4 to 6 people per square meter is what people seem to think about. However, do you know what that looks like? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if we put it in a visual format like this, with people per square meter on the left and the level service on the right, you will see that the standing area, the queuing come crowd on the right, tops out at 5.26. And on the left and the walking, it's 2.17. Numbers that still don't comprehend with me. And yes, I have developed a way of dealing with this for the future. But the thing to be aware of is, in the green area, it's individual movement. The yellow area is collective and group movement. And in the red area, this is where I like to live. This is the danger zone. Let's look at this from two variables: movement and later sound. People per square meter at 1 or less is vacant space, unrestricted walking. From a stadium point of view, you've got the open plaza area where they're coming up to the entrance. People have an awareness of others. A cafe-style gathering at 3 is where they form lines or small clusters. But that's not queuing. This is meeting and greeting people. As we move into the more group-focused, busy concourse, self-organizing into flow lanes, I'm going to the toilet, they're going over to the bar, they're going out for a smoke, whatever. And then we get to the 5.26 area, active crowd, where they have some slow walking and some contact, where people start bumping into each other, and it starts to get interesting from a crowd science point of view. 6, front of a stage at a barrier, you get swaying motions and micro movements. If you can see that, you can estimate what the crowd density is. Trains, heavily restricted, but it depends what's happening to determine these things. And then we get crowd crush conditions where it's severely restricted. And do we go any higher? A colleague of mine said to me, oh, we had to take an intervention at 3 people per square meter. And I said, well, what do you do when it gets to 10? And he said, have you ever seen 10 people per square meter? You tell me. You tell me. That's 80 square meters. Let's put the guidelines on the left, your 3, 5, 8 people per square meter thresholds. In each one of these, there's 20 people per square meter. How do I know? Well, one Sunday morning, I had nothing better to do than count them all. There's 540 people in 38 square meters there. What's your best guess for the density? Most people actually say 9 to 10 people per square meter. Numbers you cannot comprehend. But the reality is, it's 14.2 if you want a specific number. I could spend hours on this. I've got a presentation on the Itaewon Halloween tragedy. And you know what? It's really dense at the top because of the way that crowd is flowing. And it is the crowd that is flowing, not the individuals. And if you actually look at this side, the numbers, I'm not even going to bother you with them because they're horrendous. That's 10.7 people per square meter. If you take the average, it becomes 12.4, which is a meaningless number because if you look to the top left-hand corner of that square, you can see they're tightly packed in, and at the bottom right-hand corner, they're not as dense. So let's go back to Fruin and let's start using ranges, which to me in this case is approximately 11.5 to 13.5 people per square meter. And what does that look like from a movement point of view? Well, if we take this spot here and we move down to the ground, have a look at how this crowd is moving, the individuals are not, and look at the force and how far they go in such a short time. Now let's take it from a sound point of view. 1 person per square meter or 0, ambient sounds. The open plaza is a low frequency hum, and the murmurs and casual conversations happen with the cafe gathering star. You have the busy concourse, music transitions and concession sounds, but when we get to level 5, people per square meter, or level E, level of service, we have an active crowd and we have occasional surges of sound. I have always been able to tell the density of a crowd, the stage of the event, by the sound in a stadium or at a festival. And at the front of the stage, you get loud group murmurs. And a packed train, well, raised voices and pressure sounds if it is dangerous. Otherwise, the sound is not as intense. But when we get into crowd waves, crowd crushes, crowd collapses, okay, we are getting very intense walls of sounds. The Phil Spector, Motown sound, wall of sound, you can hear it. Once you've heard it, you will never forget it. Let's have a listen. This is 3 to 5 minutes before the Itaewon Halloween tragedy. These people are only 20 meters around the corner from where the deaths occurred, all 158 of them. Remember that number. That last video clearly highlights there is a direct relationship between the movement of the people and the sounds that they emit. On the left, you have the movement. On the right, you have the sounds. You have the people per square meter with the relationship with Fruin's level of service. I'm not going to read them all out. They're in a handout for you. But unrestricted walking and ambient sounds at the bottom, no problem. The threshold of the yellow level is the slow walking with some contact and occasional surges of sound. But when you get up to the red area, the danger zone, severely restricted movement at 8 people per square meter and very intense walls of sound at Fruin's level F. And we just saw 10 to 12 people per square meter in that laneway. I trust this quick introduction to my crowd density continuum highlights for you that by looking at the movement and listening for the sounds, we can make a quick assessment so we can take interventions if and or when we have to. I'm Alan Wilson. It's been a delight sharing this with you. Please go forward and learn more about crowds.